There's a well-known saying that it's not the destination that matters, but the journey. If you choose to walk from east coast to west coast of Britain, then the destination of Bowness on Solway, or Newcastle for that matter, are anything worth journeying for. So then, the journey is the reason why. But what's then the question? 84 miles to cover, 42 already achieved before we make our second start. Halfway across the British Isles. Adventure awaits, time can be forgotten, and 4 more travellers make their way on this famous trail. It's by no means the longest trail in the UK, nor is it by far the hardest. But it's a start, and we will have to start somewhere. A lot was learnt from last year's attempt. Better boots, better packs, lighter equipment, and more attuned bodies to the daily slog. The first party had made 2 successful days, starting at Wallsend in Newcastle and to Chollerford, before tragedy struck. Matthew fell whilst wrestling with one of the many stiles on our route, but the brave, unrelenting man he is, he stuck it out for another day, pushing himself beyond the limits. The going was slow that day, not many miles were covered, and the weather hit hard and unrelenting for the entire day. We gave in. We'd reached a Roman fort named Housesteads, pretty much precisely halfway on the route. It's from this point we carried on with our journey. This time though, we were joined by the young whippersnapper who went by the name Caelan. I'm sure he came into this like all naive people do, that it would be a breeze. He probably imagined he would be running it whilst carrying his pack. Think again. The weather started off bleak. A strong breeze and a misty drizzle that slowly consumes your clothing with dampness, but it wasn't going to deter us. Before long the sun shone and the beautiful views that come with a trip to Northumberland came into their own. Excitement was high. Breaks come and go. The rolling hills are beautiful but tiresome. Before long, lunchtime. Refuel the body, re-energize the soul. The afternoon lull comes hard. Now that relentless marching starts to grind. The one thing that can keep anyone going was our goal. The pub. Goal achieved! Gold medals for everyone. And what I mean by gold medals, I actually mean beers. The next goal? To hunt down the next stamp for our now beloved, yet slightly worn passports. Get to the box, get the stamp, achievement unlocked. The final quest for the day? To find somewhere to camp. Onwards again for more miles before we reach the perfect resting place. You just can't beat some wild camping in the woods. Beds made, food eaten, socialising achieved. We put our heads down for the night. Even though there had been rain in the night, we woke the next day ready to take on whatever challenges we faced. How I laugh in the face of challenges. The first challenge was breakfast. That challenge was washed down with a cup of Earl Grey, which isn't a choice, but a way of life. Packed up and ready to make hay, but not literal hay, we walked onwards towards what was our first treasure, the honesty box. The honesty box was designed by lazy people for people who are working hard walking. It's quite the paradox, so perhaps a better name for it could be the Parabox. The terrain was now becoming slowly less hilly, making our progress anticipation for the day to be higher than the previous. The goal was to hit the city of Carlisle this day. Now there's a difference between a purist hiker and a casual hiker, and I will willingly put ourselves in the casual hiker category. The moment a sniff of pub or a cafe is seen, we are taken off course to hunt it down and devour it. It was in this moment of weakness, between my bowl of carrot and coriander soup and unreliable Wi-Fi, I made a last-second decision to book a room for tonight in Carlisle. Confirmation of our status as casual hikers. Soup, scones and coffee downed, the march towards the inevitable continued. The prospect of a night in a warm bed buoyed everyone's spirits, but the lack of interesting countryside made the walking harder than it was. As the day wore on, rain hit, but we timed it well with a visit to the next pub on our route in a lovely, yet prone to flooding, village called Crosby-on-Eden. The one thing I have noticed, on what is essentially a pub crawl we are doing, is the lack of a decent beer. Poor pale ales and shocking ciders are not what I, as a man, want, but in this situation, it is what I need. So you win this time, Shepherd Neame. You win. Rain stopped and again the march went on. This now was the last leg to Carlisle. It was at this point that every single step we took was only taken because a warm bed was awaiting us. How good was that? Well, you wouldn't know, you weren't there. But let me tell you, it felt nice. The plan today was one of efficiency. How can you be more efficient? I hear you ask. The answer, dear watcher, is to not carry the weight of 18 bags of sugar on your back. To achieve this, we left our bags at the guest house for the day, knowing we would be travelling back past Carlisle later that day. The game was afoot, or should I say the game was about feet, namely walking. First stop was to get our passports stamped. I'd come to enjoy and love the boxes adorned on various walls of buildings, but this passport was a challenge in itself just to find. Eventually we came across it inside a sports centre cafe that seemed to me not to be open yet. Still we gained access, utilised the stamp and moved on. Through the outskirts of Carlisle and outwards towards Bowness on Solway, we had about 15 miles to walk, and man, were we loving the lack of weight on our backs. Caelan at this point had slowly been building up his teenage moaning, so to soften the walk ahead, I kept telling him we had way more miles to go than we actually had. This was a technique I like to call, "you can thank me later," because mentally he would be prepared to be walking further, and then suddenly he would find out that he had finished. That's when he would thank me. In fact, if you're watching this, I'm afraid to tell you there's at least 20 minutes left. You can thank me later. Lunchtime coincided at the lovely pub at Burr Sands, which has a statue of Edward I. Food and drink digested, the hike now went across one of the flattest and longest roads I've ever walked along. This drudge felt like hell. It felt like the living definition of 1 foot forward, 2 foot back. It was mental agony. Eventually, we reached the end of the straight. The reward, another pub with another drink. This time a refreshing stout. Pint downed, the last leg of our journey came into sight. We were merely miles away. Then we were less than miles away. And eventually a mile away. And then victory! We had made it.